Mr. Speaker, it is hard for anyone to believe that in this modern age, we still sometimes cannot have a clear definition of what constitutes a valid vote in an election. I've seen a ballot paper with a faint squiggly cross marked inside a demarcated box rejected by an assistant returning officer or ARO on the basis that the intention of the voter was not clear. I was flabbergasted and perplexed at the same time on how the ARO could arrive at such a conclusion. The said voter could easily be an elderly person who, for some reason, could not imprint a more forceful mark on the ballot paper, but that did not mean his or her intention was not clear in any way. I've also seen ballot papers with a thick and a diagonal line drawn across it, well within the demarcated box for the preferred candidate, being marked for rejection. The reason? A tick means yes, but the diagonal line across it forms an X, which means no. So yes and no at the same time, the intention of the voter was not clear. Yet I have seen an X mark on the party logo area counted as valid. I've also witnessed symbols and expletives in the demarcated box of a ballot box counted as valid as well. When I asked the returning officer to adjudicate on the validity of the rejected votes, he said that the individual ARO at the respective counting table has the authority to decide on such matter. Sir, in the 2 general elections I've contested, there were at least 6 counting tables in each of the counting centers. So I'm looking at potentially 6 different interpretations of what constitutes a valid vote just in one counting center alone. How can we call ourselves a developed country when we cannot even define in simple terms or without ambiguity what is a valid vote? So while this amendment bill seeks to issue clearer guidelines on what the returning officer and their assistants should look for in a ballot paper when determining the intention of the voter, I wish to seek some clarification from the Minister on some of the proposed changes. First, Clause 11 of this bill, which amends Section 42 of the Parliamentary Elections Act, introduces a new subsection 3AA, which states that the voters marked on the ballot paper must be made in the area demarcated on the ballot paper for that purpose and not elsewhere. Sir, to the visually impaired or elderly with poor eyesight, putting a mark squarely within the area demarcated on the ballot paper can be challenging, especially if these voters do not want any help to do so for whatever reason. I'm sure many of us in this House would have come across ballot papers with the voters mark imprinted outside the area demarcated for that purpose. I believe the intention of these voters were in no way unclear. However, such votes will be deemed invalid under the proposed amendment to Section 42 of the Parliamentary Elections Act. We are an aging society and we will see more and more elderly voters in time to come. I have utmost respect for these voters who, despite their advanced age or disability, are determined to play a role in shaping our democracy come what may. It would be sad to know that their effort and passion will be in vain with the proposed amendment. I seek more information from the Minister to address this concern. Separately, I hope the Elections Department could also look into designing a ballot paper with a larger area demarcated for the voters to mark with greater ease. Second, Clause 15, which amends Section 50 of the Principal Act, introduces a new subsection 2A to instruct the returning officer when determining whether a mark made on a ballot paper clearly indicates the voter's intention to vote for the candidate or groups of candidates, to disregard any mark that is not made within the area demarcated on the ballot paper for that purpose. I wish to ask the Minister, does that mean that as long as a voter's mark is made within the area demarcated on the ballot paper for that purpose, a voter is allowed to exercise his artistic license elsewhere on the ballot paper, and it would still be counted as a valid vote, since the returning officer must disregard other marks found on the ballot paper as directed under this new amendment? If a voter were to cross out the name of a particular candidate with words like clown, my hero, or Mr. Bean, and then proceed to put an X in the area demarcated on the ballot paper for that purpose, would the returning officer be compelled to treat it as a valid vote under this proposed amendment to Section 50 of the Parliamentary Elections Act? I hope the Minister can provide more clarity on this amendment, else it will only cause more confusion. Voting is a serious act of civic responsibility. I believe we should not allow the ballot paper to be marked in any other way other than prescribed under the Act. There should be no other mark other than the mark left by the voter in the area demarcated on the ballot paper for that purpose. Returning officers should not be tasked to disregard any other mark found on the ballot paper, but to designate such ballot as invalid, as outright invalid. Voter education is also important. Beyond showing voters where to mark on the ballot paper, the Elections Department should also educate voters on what will invalidate their votes. At this juncture, I wish to reiterate the Workers' Party's stand on the NCMP scheme. We oppose the scheme as we believe in the fundamental principle that having more NCMPs is not the way forward to make our political system more robust. So barring the amendment made to Section 52(1) of the Principal Act to revise the formula to determine the number of NCMP to be declared in an election, I do support the amendment bill.